first, I would like to introduce our moderator. His name is Josiah Alpher. He's an actor, a second-year TFTP major. He's worked in a couple youth productions such as The Box, Terms of Service, Cabaret, and Mike and Trent Make Rent. So,
thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate you all. I know a lot of you too. I was nervous because I know it's a Friday, but I appreciate you all taking a break from classes or from your busy schedules to come out and listen to this Q&A event. I promise it's going to be the first of many, so I'm really excited and that you're all here. Yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm a second-year theater, film, and digital production major with a concentration in acting and directing. And I'm really excited to be moderating this Q&A event. A little bit about Michael Poryes. I started acting when I was around like 12 years old. I wasn't taking it super seriously, but I'm gonna like expose myself right now. I just said that. And one of my family friends, my mom was like, I really want you to meet one of my family friends. His name is Michael, and he did this and blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, I'm 12. I don't really like care that much. And she was like, something, Hannah Montana. And I was like, stop right there. When are we going to meet him? And she was like, we're gonna go out and we'll do this. So, long story short, I think we met at, I could totally be wrong, Michael, but I think we met at like a Denny's or like an IHOP. There was pancakes, I think. I don't know, I was 12. So I was 12. Okay, so it was a diner and I was around 12 years old and I met him and we just talked about acting and he was a really great outlet to ask questions about the industry. And meanwhile, this was like 8 years ago. So when I was 12, he was a great outlet to talk about things with the industry. And yeah, he's just been a really great family friend of mine and a mentor, honestly, to me. And I'm super excited that we stayed in touch over the course of 8 years. Because now I'm 20, which is crazy to say. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Emmy-nominated creator, writer, producer of hit shows like Hannah Montana, That's So Raven, Raven's Home, and his newest show coming out very soon called Home Sweet Home. Michael Poryes, everyone. This is so exciting. I'm very excited for this. I feel like I watch these on YouTube and like.
That's true. If I sit down, can you guys see?
Yeah, maybe. I might have to have you guys stand up for your questions so that you can see everyone.
No, but you know, before you ask any questions, basically, I'm here for you guys. You know, I'm here for you to be able to ask any questions you want, and for me to give you direct answers about the business or creative or any kind of guidance that you may not normally get. I love it, you know, I love the business. It's not an easy business, and so if you want to get into it, you better love it. Because there's ups and downs and backs and forths, but the ups make all the downs and craziness worth it. So, again, this is just me here for you. If any questions you want to ask me, go ahead. If not, for me to kind of...
It all started with me back in high school. I'm not going to do that to you unless you ask me to.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I can honestly start it off. I wanted to ask you a question that I've wanted to before. You might have honestly told me before, but I'm just going to ask it again.
Sure.
So thinking back to shows like Hannah Montana, That's So Raven, things like that, that this generation grew up with, like when you were in the process of writing it and creating it, did you know how much of a big impact that would be? Or like when you write shows, I mean, people don't write them and think like they're going to be a hit. Maybe you did. I just want to know the process behind that and like writing it, yeah.
Yeah, I had no imagine that it was going to be a hit. Raven or Miley were not a part of them when they started. They were casting. And then I let the show kind of direct itself toward their strengths and their comedy and their rhythms and their timings. Originally, That's So Raven wasn't called That's So Raven. We did a whole pilot, and it was called a horrible, horrible, horrible title called Absolutely Psychic. Exactly. This was not my title. This title came from Disney, and I was being I was being very nice, and I said, "That's great." But inside, I was going, "What a bad title." That was it. So we did that. The center of the show was white, and the Chelsea was casting. I could have gone any possible way I could have gone. But then Raven Simone came in, and she gave one of these incredible auditions, and she got cast as Chelsea. And so we did the pilot.
As the best friend?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We did the pilot, we produced the pilot, and Raven just, as Chelsea, jumped off the screen. You know, she was just so good. So we got picked up for a full season, but it was contingent, and I agreed with it, that we restructured the whole thing around Raven. So a brother was created, mom and dad were created.
A whole family based on
A whole family, because we were going to make it about her, which was really, really interesting. And we made it, which I really like, it was mom and dad. Nobody died, no one was a widower, no one was a widower, like Hannah was. And I'll tell you that story, which is always an interesting thing. But, so we redid it with Raven. And the one thing I wanted to step back, one of the secrets of Raven and of Miley and anybody that I've cast to be a star of a show, they came into the room and had no scripts. And there was maybe 4 or 5 sides that they had to know. Most come in with scripts, try not to use them, or they come in and they put them on the floor, or they do something like that. They came in with nothing. You know, Raven, excuse me for standing up. Raven came in and walked in, you know, like this, and stood in front of me. That was it.
Just
And it was like, okay, can you do the scene 3? And it was like this. Okay. And she nailed it. Right, okay. Can you do scene 5? Okay. And she nailed it. So if any of you want to be actors and want to go in and audition for a role that you really want, you better know it. You know, don't go with pages. No matter what anybody tells you, it's okay to go with the pages. It's fine. Whatever makes you comfortable, it's all bullshit. What I'm looking for is somebody that is not going with the pages, that thought enough about the character that I created to really know it. And the other thing is, if you're holding pages, what's that doing to you? It's not letting you do this. It's not letting you be natural. It's not letting you do so many things that are a part of being this character. So in acting, if you want the role, don't use pages. It says so much to the person casting. Now the Hannah story, let's see how to do this. Miley was, do you want to know this, or are there other questions to ask? See, I can just ramble.
No, I'm like listening at the edge of my seat. You say something like, oh, Miley, I'm like, Cyrus.
So originally, Hannah Montana was, now look at me. You think I created a girl from Nashville? Yeah. I mean, give me a break. Originally, Hannah Montana was a Jewish girl from New York. Honestly, that's what the script was.
That's right.
And her father was a studio musician. And that's what it was. That's how I wrote it. And then Miley started sending in videotapes. At first she was like 10. She was cute, sort of green. And we said, no, it's not working. You know, we looked, and a couple of months later, here's another tape from Miley. And she was a little better, a little older, but I was still nervous about basing a show around somebody that was pretty darn green and wasn't quite it. She certainly wasn't a Jewish girl from New York. And then she sent another tape, and she got better, and Disney agreed to have her come out as long as they paid for it, not Disney, but the Cyruses, and audition in front of us.
Oh, so they flew to LA?
Yeah.
and auditioned.
And we already had somebody that we had two that we were really, really excited by. And Miley came into the room, unlike Raven. You know, when Miley came into the room, remember Raven came into the room, you know, like this. Miley came into the room. Hi, how are you doing? How y'all? You know, yeah, that's right, nice sweater. You know, and the minute she walked into the room, she owned the room. We were hers. You know, it was hers to lose at that point. She owned the room because she was being who she was, so genuine, she wasn't putting on a thing. And that was the appeal of her. The camera loved her. She jumped out of what have you. She took the lines and kind of made them their own. And there was, well, they weren't quite tailored to her yet, but we were all really intrigued. And then, so we're all going, yeah, we want to cast her. And then we already have the father, and we were going to go with the same guy because we really liked him, right? And then we heard, Billy's outside. He wants to audition for the father.
Her actual
Our actual father. And we're going, okay, we want Miley. Billy wants to come in. My goodness, really? How are we we're gonna smile. We're gonna go, hey, that was really great. We'll all think about it. And then we cast the other guy. But how do we let him down without him getting hurt and jeopardizing our chance to have Miley, right? But he came in and blew us away. He was really good. He was the role. He was so genuine, you know. The thing is, when we had Miley come in and read with him, her performance went from here to here.
Oh, it was even better.
You can't buy chemistry like that. That was father and daughter going back and forth with the lines and everything under them, you know. And so when you're doing a series, especially a comedy and especially in the kids' world, and if you are creating it and you're writing it, your writing is not precious. Your writing needs to follow the talent. Your writing needs to embrace the people in front of you, especially if they're kids, and bring out everything about that. So my job would be, where does the writing end and where does the real person? That's my job. Because that's how you get the absolute best out of kid actors, is to really tailor something to them and yet still get what you want and what you need in a character. I can keep talking.
No, I was wrong. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because I think about
Some of them are about ready to leave.
No. Yeah, well, we can open it up for questions if anyone wants to start us off. Don't be shy.
I'm really, anything you want to ask me, quick.
Yeah.
I gotta talk to you for a minute. Wait a minute, you first.
Should
I stand up?
Yeah, you can feel free to stand up. Yeah, absolutely.
My name is Sudarshan.
Hi.
I'm a second year at UCR, and I'm part of an organization called SAF, South Asian Federation. And so we have a culture show that's happening on May 6th. So for that, we actually wrote, over winter break, I spent like a week or so writing a 44-page script.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so we finished it up. And so what you were bringing up about connecting the actors that you eventually get on, like with this script, I'm really interested in that because, like, on my part, like, my friend here, he was like one of the actors that we had. I believe, like,
You can be honest. You can be honest about how we did.
She auditioned for us as well. But you know, with the audition process, I realized that like a lot of the time they were trying to memorize lines off the script and really go off what we gave them. And eventually, I kind of went to the actors that we eventually brought on. I went, you really just need to take the script and fit it into your own style, what you really embrace into yourself. And so I'm like, I really needed like some guidance on how to really take a script that like I kind of created on my own and formatted into the characters that, you know, and their
Well,
personality.
their reality, the biggest thing for actors, and again, I'm talking a lot about what I've been in the primetime or adult world before I got into kids programming, but I love kids programming a lot. And one of the advices I give a kid actor is try to make it yours. I'm not saying change the lines, but I'm saying make it yours. Make it, how would you do this, right? Don't try to second guess what I'm looking for. Because no matter how much I tell you that I'm looking for, no matter how much I think I know what I'm looking for, it's bullshit, right? If somebody comes in the door and they surprise me, and I go, again, Miley, you know, Nashville, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I was not looking for that, you know. But I followed what was in front of me. And so as an actor, go in, inhabit it, do your thing. With all respect to casting agents, they will tell you a lot of things. I will always give, no matter what the reading is, I will always give a note. Even if I don't really have one that I really want, I'll always give one. Because I want to see that that actor will adjust to notes in production, that they're able to adjust and flow with it, you know. I would only adjust to an actor if you're the producer, director, writer, if that's who you're casting, right? I wouldn't adjust to them before that. I would see something with what I've done, right? And once they give you that, then you can say, now go outside the lines a little bit, right? Show me something else, but always show me what I did. Then show me something else. And if you cast that person, then it's up to you to start adjusting your lines and start adjusting your writing toward that person, because you know that's who you want, right?
Yeah.
That's my process. But don't put the cart before the horse, you know. And when I said writing isn't precious, it's still writing, and you still really work hard on it. And my other thing in production is I always want to see what I did. And then if you want to say, but here's something else, great, show it to me. And if it's better, I will embrace it. At the end of the day, if something is better, if I didn't come up with it or blah, 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 at the end of the day, it just makes me look really, really good. You know? Because, wow, did you see that scene over there? Blah, blah, blah. And I'll be the first to say they came up with it. You know? But it just, you want everybody at their best, performing in what makes them comfortable.
Yeah, one of like my favorite, like I'm just like super big into screenwriting. Like one of the shows that I've like took a lot of inspiration from is like Succession, which I believe like one of the best written shows I've ever
Don't
seen.
tell me how that, I'm a few episodes behind.
Okay, I won't spoil it.
You know.
It's just like I've seen like there's these YouTube videos they put out, HBO puts out of these line reads where they'll have the script on one read and the actual actors saying the lines. And a lot of the time, the gist is there, but they definitely morph it into, you know, what their personality is. Like
Absolutely.
Roman or Logan or whoever's speaking, they really take the lines and put it through like almost a machine in their head and how they want.
That's absolutely correct, but you'll notice that they didn't do that as much out of the gate. Any good show is a marriage between the acting and the writing. You know, it isn't like a Broadway, it's not Shakespeare, you know, where you say these lines because they're so precious. You're both rowing in the same direction, you both want the same thing. When a show starts to fall apart is when the writer digs in and the actor wants to do this and the writer doesn't adjust. Because then it's a snowball. Then the actor will start taking the writer's lines because the actor doesn't feel listened to. And the actor's right. Right? So you have to always remember it is a collaboration, but as the writer, producer, you are the final word. But your final word needs to respect your actor. They're out there. They're the ones in front of the screen. If they're not comfortable, then it's going to show. No matter what you do, it's going to show.
I think it's also a matter of flexibility with you too, because I feel like if you were so set on some of these shows having specific, characters like the Jewish Girl from New York or whatever it was, you would have missed out on
Absolutely.
Miley. So I think it's a balance of course being true to your writing and respecting your work, but also having an open mind and being flexible to whoever walks in the room.
In my mind, it's not, at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's not about the actor. It's in a sense not about the network. It's about the show. And if you make the show the best you can be, all those other things fall into place. Never forget that. About the show, about the show, about the show.
That's such good advice, absolutely.
I'll
Yeah.
get you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want to go first, like.
What do you want?
I'll change what's your question.
My question is, in order to be like producer or screenwriter or just in general filmmaker, you obviously have to be well viewed in movies and TV shows. But I also learned that you also have to be well read. So what do you suggest that a young filmmaker start reading?
Well,
Ooh, good book. Book
Yeah,
recommendations.
the way I learned, and it's the way I suggest for everybody, whatever it is you want to do, whether it's an hour, whether it's a procedural hour, whether it's a character-driven hour, or a half hour, or a single camera, or a 4-camera, find the shows in that genre that you completely love, that you aspire to, you think they're so well written and so well done, and you get a hold of it, and you read those scripts, and you learn from the things that you so admire. That's what I did. I tried to get a hold of the best sitcom, the best writing I could, and that's how I started to learn. Writing at the end of the day is rewriting. Never be afraid to take a script of yours, get notes, and rewrite it. It's always rewriting. I don't have a script now or a program now I could not go back to and make better. You're always getting better. You're always learning. It's one of the things that I love about this business is it never gets boring and you can never know everything. It's impossible. And so that's the best way for me, the most direct way to learn how to really write well in the genre you want. Whether it's features or hours or half hours.
That's such good advice.
Thank you.
Like studying those shows that you love and seeing what you love about them, what makes them so interesting.
I will also tell you one other secret that I had. When I had this secret, it was out of necessity, because I didn't have a videotape machine and all those wonderful things, and the show was only on at that time, and all those. I would audio record it when it was on television, and then in the car I'd play it back while I was going to go to work. I was a waiter in Beverly Hills, a restaurant, which was a great thing. I got a lot of connections in that. But when I sat down then to write a sample of that script, which is how it was done then, I actually was really thinking about those characters. They were crisp in my head. And so I was able to write knowing what their expression would be, so the writing wasn't forced. And I didn't have to force a joke. I knew the relationships and the timing, because I forced myself to listen to it, as opposed to watch it. Is not the same. You're watching it, that's a great thing, but you're letting your brain be lazy. If you audio tape it and listen to it, you'd be surprised when you sit down to write an episode of that show, how much those characters are in your head. That's it.
Thank you.
Reality as an actor is to put yourself in the world of acting. Take classes. If that restaurant was still around today, I'd say get a job there, because
Beverly Hills one?
yeah, because I met other writers, but most of my friends were actors. Everybody is doing what you want to do And so I might open the door for somebody, they might open the door for somebody, or they know something, or they're in that class, or they're that. Make yourself available, no matter how you can, to that world, and get to know. There are no absolute rules, but if you don't put yourself in the game in somehow, or don't put yourself around people that are trying to accomplish the same things you're doing, you won't get lucky. It's the old, you have to work really hard to get really lucky. You know, I had my spec script in my locker downstairs from when I was waiting tables. And you also, in whatever genre you're trying to get into, watch them, know the actors, know the writers, the writing staff, know their names, know what they've done. Because one of these times, as it happened with me also in this restaurant, it was somebody, I was telling jokes. This is what I did to lighten the mood in when I was a waiter. Oh, what do you do? Well, I'm trying to be a writer, blah, blah, blah. Well, my name is such and such. Now, nobody knows this guy's name. He's written on many, many things, right? But nobody really knows his name. Unsung hero kind of thing. And I went, you're blah, 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 that team, and you wrote this, 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 this. Do you have anything I can read?
Wow.
Right? If I didn't know that information, there it was. There was work really hard to get really lucky. I had my spec script. If I didn't know that information, he never would have made that offer, right? So that's just be prepared to get very, very lucky. Never stop. Always put yourself in the game. Always, always.
That's great advice. I think it's also, yeah, absolutely. That was great advice. I think it's also about expecting the unexpected because, I mean, yeah, you're true. You never know who you're going to meet where.
The only rule you can count on in the entertainment industry is that there are no rules. That's the rule. That's for sure.
I just know you have more stories about that Beverly Hills restaurant.
I do.
What was the next question? Yeah, Nicholas.
Hi. So you've mentioned flexibility. You've mentioned being prepared and everything, and expecting the unexpected. But are there any other factors that you've noticed with successful writers that have come into the industry and they all have something in common that they've done?
Successful writers.
Successful writers work. They write, right? They get better and better, always writing. So you get good. The other thing I will say to you, what the ones that make it have in common and one that they don't have in common, because I've made this mistake. When I was breaking in, I would hand somebody a script in where I had it, knowing that there was a problem, right? But this is where I had it, here was the opportunity, so I'm going to give it to you, right? Big mistake. Never give anybody a script that isn't the best you can do at that time in your journey. The worst thing you can do is you give them the script, they read it, and they say, I had a problem with Act 2, right? And you say, yeah, I know I was struggling with Act 2. Their attitude is, no, why did you give it to me? I have other things I need to be doing. I reached out, I said I would read this for you, and it wasn't your best shot. Always give your best shot at the time. I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but you have to think, I can't get this any better, right? Now you're gonna, and when you then give it to somebody like me, I'm dealing with your best. That's when I can help you. I can get you to go from here to here. But if you give me this and your best is here, and you want me to help you get to where you should have been in the first place, right? So politically, it's that. The other things that successful writers have in common is massive tenacity. It's a crazy thing in the business. Not everybody thinks they can be an actor. Not everybody thinks they can be a director. Not everybody thinks they can be a producer. But they all think they can be writers. Everyone. And they will always have notes and this and, well, I was a little, you know. And so you have also got to be able to know where the good notes are and accept them, and know where the bad notes are, and compliment the person giving them to you. Right? Never tell them it's a bad note, you know? You say, that's very interesting, thank you. I appreciate it, let me think about that, but no one has said that to me before, and I really appreciate it. No one said that to you before because it was stupid. But you don't say it.
Silently.
You don't say it. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, well, like the first part of just don't hand it unless it's perfect, that's just such a terrifying thought.
Not
because-
perfect, but what you feel is the best you can. This is, you've got it there, right? And you really are proud to hand that in. And now you want my advice, and your goal is, I've done the best I can do, I want to get it better. Not, I've done the second best I can do, and I just wonder what you think, right? That's what I'm saying. So don't say it has to be perfect, but it has to be the best you have. You know, give it your best shot, because from there, again, you can only build. And getting your best shot is only going to make me react more excited, because you can feel it. When you read something, or you see a performance, you feel if it's their best, right? You feel it. Or you feel if they're not giving me everything here, you know? And that's not a good feeling, you know, to seize those opportunities. You know, when I had that script in my locker, I felt it was the best I could do. And if I started to think it wasn't the best, I would have taken it out and corrected that one little jump, right? I would have done that. I mean, it's welcome to the world of writing. You know, you'll never have it, but you always keep getting better and better and better. And also, again, tenacity and a wonderful fuck you attitude. You know, that you don't necessarily verbally say it, but 90%, 5% of the time, you're going to be rejected, and your stuff is going to be criticized and all that, blah, blah, blah. 5% of the time, somebody is going to go, that's pretty good. What else do you have? It's the 5% that you're working for. The 5% is what forwards your career, not the 95%. It's how you handle that 95%. You got to hack through the forest and keep on, you know, and don't let anybody squash you, and they'll try.
Yeah, I think it's about having a clear vision and ignoring all the fluff around it. Something specifically you said that I thought was really important was you said your best at that given time. Because
Right.
like you said you're always getting better at writing as rewriting.
Absolutely right.
And I think, yeah, nothing's ever going to be perfect per se, but your best at that moment, and then you get great notes, you're like, cool, let me make it better.
Exactly.
It's getting better and better, yeah.
Exactly. You know, because again, the trap is somebody says, I had a problem with Act 2. And if you say I have the same problem, you're done. It's a trap. I hope he doesn't say he has the same problem. I hope he doesn't, because it's telling me you didn't give me your best.
So what would the response be?
What do you mean?
Well, if they say, I think you have a problem with Act 2, you just say, thank you, or do you go?
No, you say what? No, well, I had a problem with Act 2. Okay. Or what was it? And it's a lean in. I want to learn. I want to learn from you. If you go to people with that attitude, they'll love you. The other thing I will also say, which it took me a long time to learn, these people are not gods. These people are not inaccessible. If you see one of them and they're in the market and you go, oh my God, that's Quentin Tarantino, right? Oh my God, I can't go with him. I can't blah, 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 it's bullshit. You go up to somebody like that and you say, thank you for your work. You know, I really appreciate it. You're just so good. I just wanted to come over and say thank you. Now, they're even going to go, well, thank you very much, and walk away, which is nice. But they're going to say, thank you very much. Well, what do you do? Well, I'm a writer too. Really? And now you have a conversation, right? Go up to them. They're not going to hit you, right?
I mean,
they're
you
not.
might
Well,
That might be different, I don't know.
when I first met him, do you have the bruise still?
Oh, yeah, it's right, it's,
I'm sorry about that.
no, so you're saying you met Tarantino at Beverly Hills restaurant?
No.
Just, I was make sure I had that right.
But I met a lot of people that were but probably that you would know, that were so classy and so nice. And then I met some that were such assholes. God, and I just can't watch their stuff, because they treated the waiter like shit, And I found the bigger they were, the classier they were. And they would actually ask you things. The classiest, and I don't know if anybody knows this person, but the classiest person that ever walked in the door of that restaurant was Sidney Poitier. He walked it, he just exuded, God. It was like, class, there's his picture. People would walk up to him and for an autograph. And not only would he give them the autograph, but he would say, so what do you do? And make them comfortable and at ease. And then there were some, and I don't want to say names, that you would be surprised, were mean if somebody came up with their autograph. Now, they're at the dinner, remember, at the busiest restaurant in Beverly Hills at the time. If you had an 8 o'clock reservation, you were lucky to get sat at 9:15, right? It was that busy. And they're coming out on a Saturday night to that restaurant, right? And they're sitting in the front room at a booth. And somebody will come up to them and ask for an autograph, and one of them, God bless him, said, I'm eating. And you want to go like, said, stay home, right? Don't come out to the busiest restaurant in the city and not know people are going to come up to you. So it's from those kinds of things that I learned as I got more successful, to be gracious. You're there because of you. You're there because lots of people watched my show. You are not there because you're the second coming. You're just not. And most of these people that you're going to see feel that same way. They are accessible. Walk up to them. Don't be rude. But just compliment their work and thank them and see where it goes from there.
Wow, that's really nice.
There was another question back there.
Yeah, I saw
Yes.
him.
Hi.
Stan.
Oh, okay.
Don't be shy.
So you brought up earlier how the original title of That's So Raven was
Absolutely psychic.
and I wanted to ask, when you're in a position like that, where you get a note from the higher ups and you just really feel like it's detrimental to the quality of the work,
I threatened myself. And you know something, it's really quite something that they were going to let me do it.
It's just me.
I have to censor
Is
that.
that bad
This is
Like, but would you recommend just being like, okay, and like taking the note, or standing if you like really, really believe in it?
It's a combination, meaning everybody's rowing in the same direction. They're not giving you a note to ruin your project, right? You're first, as a writer, you're going to,
in a growl?
right? Inside. You have to find something about that note that you agree with. Because there's something in there. You're not hearing it yet, but there's something in there that you agree with. And so you always say, that's really interesting. I didn't think of that. Can I think for a beat and get back to you on that, right? If you don't have it there. So much of the time when you walk away and get rid of your, I hate that note, it's perfect. How could you be they're ruining everything, right? You're going to find something about that note that might help. And normally, when a network gives a note, normally they think the problem is way bigger than it is. And then you come back and you say, I thought about your note, and I made this adjustment and that adjustment, and man, does it make everything better, right? Then you're going to get your note, and you're going to save lots of what you want. One of the secrets of notes with networks is if you give a network 10% of what they're asking for, you will get 90% of what you want. If you give a network nothing of what you're asking for, you will get nothing. Right? Your project will not go ahead. You're done. So always listen. Always realize their intention is good, even though they might be off the mark. And always realize there's something in there that is going to help your project, right? You also, with networks or studios, it's imperative to make them feel as though they're a part, because they are a part. Be able to look at the end product and feel in their gut, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't give my note, right? It's a collaborative effort. It's a team effort. It isn't all about, well, I'm the writer, I'm the director, I get what I want. You know. Well, is it your money, right? Is that the money producing this? I don't think it is, you know. And so you have to respect them, and you have to respect where the money is from. And you also have to look at whatever you're doing if you want to make a living at it. It is a business, and you have to have. When I'm working, I'm 90% creative writer, getting my vision, and I'm 10% business. Do I need that scene? Can I combine this element into that scene, and then maybe I save money here, where then I can use it later in the season, and I can get the helicopter I want, right? So you have to be thinking the whole picture. You have to be thinking about the money that you are being given to do this. You have to respect that money, right? So it's all. Did I answer that question?
Yes, thank you.
Good.
I feel like it's definitely like a balancing act, and it says a lot coming from you, from someone who's worked on such a big company like Disney, for example, Disney Channel. I think a lot of what you were saying is to take the notes, yes, from the higher up, and to respect them and keep a good mindset, and also not let it, compromise the work that you did.
Exactly right. That's the balance. That's the thing you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a true. Yeah, we can keep going. I think we got time for a couple more questions. Brooke?
I do have a question. Hi, my name's Brooke. I would just like to ask, what was your experience writing for a reboot? And writing for a reboot, like Raven's Home? I'm just curious, what was that experience like? Was there any part of you that was
Let me stop you. I did not write that.
Huh?
That is based on my creative. So I got the creative credit for it, but I'm not the writer of it.
I see.
Right, and I think probably rightfully so, because I would have had Raven as a 15-year-old to like that. Right? So I can't speak to that because I really didn't do it. 10 to 1, if I did do it, it probably would have gone differently. I probably would have done different things. Honestly, it's being filmed, isn't it? I probably would have painted Raven more as gay, who she is. I would have done that. I would have really fought hard to do that because I could have written more honestly of that character. They chose not to do that, and they're doing it great. So I would have taken it here. But, it was based on my creation of Raven, and so, I continue to get the credit.
So
How was that answer?
No, thank you. That's
just because you got the creative credit because it was your characters.
Because it was the character exactly right.
So because it was based on that, automatically you have the
It went to, initially, no.
Okay.
But it went to the Writers Guild, and anything like that is always arbitrated. And whatever that committee felt, thank you, committee, was that I and Susan Sherman should get the creative by credit on that.
Wow.
That's what happened.
Because I feel like nowadays there's lots of reboots and spin-offs happening of shows that happened. A couple
Quite
years ago.
tired.
Yeah. So.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
As
Yeah, I
we
never
go
asked for
to
that.
more reboots and reboots. Yeah, I mean, can't you guys think of anything else? You know, it's one of those. I much prefer doing something that's fresh and new territory. It's exciting, but, you know, now it's like, well, where are they now? You know, that kind of, you know, aren't they funny now that they're 30 years older? What? You know, that's just me.
All right, we have time for a couple more questions. Right,
Okay, you and then,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure. So I'm writing my own screenplay, and I went through a huge writer's block last quarter, and I was wondering how you went through writer's block and how you managed it.
Writer's block, okay. Any
I
tips?
will.
Any advice?
All right. Who knows if you're gonna like this answer? I think writer's block is a monster. I think it's a monster. You don't let it in. You don't let it in. It is nothing but negative. It is nothing but something that is trying to defeat you. You don't acknowledge it. The minute you do, you're done. It kills you. It just gets worse. You know, what you do, and an exercise I've done, is you sit at your computer and you say, I have writer's block. I can't think of a fucking thing. I've tried this, I've tried that. I've tried this, and that. I walked around. I took a shower. I watched movies. Nothing's working, right? What do? You're writing. Writing leads to writing. When you don't write, you don't get anything. So what you really, truly have to say is writer's block, you could go to hell. Honest to God.
You're saying right through writer's block.
Right through it. Don't stop. Because if you keep writing and you keep exploring, I really would like to write a rom-com. I've tried that. And maybe, well, wait, I have tried it, but I could do this and that. You're going to think of something. It's going to hit you, right? Because writing opens writing. Always. Always. No writing leads to no writing. Always. So just when you think you have writer's block, just tell it to go to hell. And move forward. So that's what I do. I don't acknowledge it. I can't. It's a writer's worst enemy. Does that help?
That's pretty
Oh,
good.
definitely, thank you.
Yeah, I think I saw a hand in the back somewhere. Yeah.
Going back to That's So Raven, there's a specific episode where they explore racism. How difficult was that to be put on in the earlier 2000s on Disney Channel?
Oh, wow.
I was not on that episode. I had left the show by that point. I have a different form when I look at shows I've done. If you looked at Anna, which was purely everything I'd ever want to do, right? I never wanted to do a mission. I always wanted to stick with emotional relationships and relatability about just being a person in life and juggling all those things. My feeling is though the minute I would go into anything that you would say was important or of the day or any of that, I date myself. One thing about the shows, and especially Hannah, that is wonderful, is that they're just watching them and watching them and watching them because they're as valid now as they were then.
Yeah, it's ever present, even
Right.
close.
I love it. The only time I ever did on Hannah something that was about an issue of the day, but it was what was in the last season. I did one that embraced what the families of soldiers go through, the families at home. I'd never seen that done before. And it allowed, and because Hannah was so universal, it was a show that I could do that with. It really couldn't do that with Raven. I could do that there because we were able to get real soldiers talking to their families live, right? It was, at the time, you know, the 7 to 11 audience, after they watched that, and they would find a family who had a relative or father or mother or whatever overseas, they had a little more empathy. They had a little more connection to what these families sacrifice and what they go through. If I had to look at any episode, that's the one I'm the most proud of. I will also say one thing. I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
Ask me what my favorite scene on Hannah was.
What's your
What's
favorite?
your favorite scene?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
Absolutely, yeah.
God, jeez. My favorite scene was Miley, who was brilliant in the scene. It was about that Miley will just get a little clammy when she lies. That's her tell, you know, that she's just a little, she can't lie without just sweating a little, right? Not normal, you don't even see it, but not that. Then she gets this big deal, right, to be the spokesperson for a product. A lot of money, right?
Was it like perfume or something?
Yes.
Why do I remember that?
And it was like, but, you know, and then she tries the perfume, hates it. It's horrible, you know? And she gets a reaction and all this, really just yuck. And then she's on a talk show. And the talk show is asking her about the product, you know? And she's making all this money, so she has to say how much she likes it, right? She doesn't like it. Like her teeth. And so she starts to flop sweat, right? And the instruction we gave her is no matter what, you don't stop. Until you hear a seal cut, you don't stop. There was a device under the wig, and whoever was controlling that water did it too much. and it was literally coming down. And she was doing a lot, but she didn't stop to the point where she was doing that, and the other actor was going. And it was partially of don't stop, keep going, be in the scene until the director yells cut. You're in the scene. The best comic performance, I was doubled over laughing because she was just so purely good. And that's also a sample of, that was the hardest I've laughed on that show. And there wasn't a joke in it. It was all about the circumstance and what's happening to her in the situation she was in and how she was handling it. But there wasn't a joke in it, and it was hysterical. That's my favorite kind of comedy, when you're not going for, where's the 3 jokes on the page? You're going for the whole page is funny because of the situation.
That's so creative too. I can't believe you even thought of that.
But once again, yes, and I told Miley, I was turning it up, and it had nothing to do with her. It was all me. You know, no. That was the thing where it was there. There's going to be some flop sweat. It's going to be funny. And the combination of turning it too much and how Miley dealt with it made it from a funny scene to a laugh out loud, oh my God scene. That's everything working together.
All right, I think we have time for like 2 more questions.
Who hasn't? Have you asked?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
I knew it.
Okay.
Yeah, that is right.
Hopefully no one else.
That's my older sister.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
It's been like 10 years since I've seen
Hello.
you.
Yeah, we definitely met her before.
Hello. Don't tell them about that.
We'll talk after. It's okay.
Okay.
Asia, what was your question?
Hopefully no one asked this, but as a director, creator, producer, what's been the biggest challenge mentally doing That's So Raven and Hannah Montana? What's been your biggest challenge in doing those 2 shows?
Here's the biggest challenge of it all, and it all comes to me, right? The biggest challenge is, as a creator, showrunner, all those things, nobody is as passionate about what this thing is than you are. Nobody. The mistake you can make is to expect them to be as passionate about it as you are. And so you're holding them to a standard they'll never achieve. And you won't be happy. And you won't be leading a team, I made that mistake. I learned from that mistake about letting people get to where they are and want to work for you. But if you give them a bar that's so high, so unattainable, that they won't want to work for you because they can never please you, right? So you've got to be able to adjust what you're doing here, and you also have to be able to bring out the best in every one of your team and truly respect what they're doing. So when you need them the most, they're going to be there for you because they're going to want you to succeed. But if you're here and nothing they do is ever quite good enough for you, the tide will turn and they're not going to want you to succeed. That's the biggest challenge for me in running a show that you create, that's in your head, that you really want. You've got to embrace all the other heads around you and let them share in that. You'll have to.
That's great. Yeah.
Somebody else was
Yeah, I
around.
saw a couple more.
Who was?
Yeah, my name is Brian.
Hi.
My question is, how were you able to write like compelling stories of the shows being directed primarily towards kids?
Like writing for children's program or
Well,
sitcoms.
my thing is never write down to kids. Always write up to kids. And I always would draw on memories that I went through back in 7th and 8th and 9th grade. Friends of mine are amazed how much I can draw from them and how much I remember that they don't.
Oh,
Because
they're watching things back then. I'm pretty sure that happened.
but it's also because it's been a part of what I do. So I've accessed it all the time. You know, when I want to do a thing about friendship, I'm thinking about that back then, when I was hurt, when I was this. I always wanted, my golden rule here is I can always find something funny. I can always make something funny, always, no doubt in my mind. But I cannot always make something real and true. So I need to find out what the truth is. What is that story emotionally I'm telling you? No, funny. And then I'll start exploring the funny. So when you say how do you get there, it's, you know, you get there by just thinking about it, and also then making a little bit of a twist on it. There was one story where, you know, it's the typical story. You know, here you are, and your friend makes another friend, and you're threatened by that other friend because that other friend doesn't like you, and you don't like the other friend, and so you put pressure on your friend. And not until that other friend over here, we find out is just really not a nice person. And your friend breaks up with that other friend, comes back, and you're friends again. And isn't that nice, and isn't it boring, right? I always look at telling a story the way I've seen it, and then how do I bend it over here to a story that is just a little more interesting, and still really relevant. And one that Disney or Nickelodeon hasn't done yet. So the way I went with that story was landing on, if you are truly a friend with that friend, it is okay for that friend to have another friend who hates you. If you're not okay with that, you're really not truly a friend, right? It's okay to have friends of yours have other friends you don't like. It's fine. You have permission now to do that. That was an interesting story to me. And it was also a story when I tell it, I get like you're doing. I get head nods. You know, that you understand it. You've almost been there. You know, we've all been in that situation. And the story normally goes, and friendships suffer and all that. And my story was about get out of your own way here, right? That your best friend has a right to have a friend that you don't like. They have a right to do that, and you need to respect it. And if your friendship is strong enough, it's going to handle that. That's an interesting story, but that's how that would evolve. I would go down the typical way to do a story, the things I've seen, the endings that I've seen, and I'd kick it, kick it to another level that is equally as relatable, but something that is kind of fresh, kind of new and different.
Yeah.
Then there was something,
Yeah,
somebody,
so-
well, you haven't.
Yeah, her. Hi,
Okay, then you're next.
Don't worry.
my name is Monzer. My question for you is, as an aspiring screenwriter and director, what's the biggest thing that's helped you improve as a writer and a rewriter? Something that kind of scares me is rewriting a good scene that I don't know is good or I find have some doubt in, and making it into a worse one, or maybe making it fit into the act that it shouldn't. Yeah.
What's the secret of, I'm trying to get a hold of that question a little bit more. What's the secret of
Recognizing a good scene.
making a scene better, or
It's
or
more
the
of-
secret of not screwing up a scene that was already good?
Yeah, it's like recognizing, differentiating good and bad writing, I guess.
That wouldn't be bad writing, it would be different writing, and the only way you're going to find out if it's not as good as what you did is to do it. So there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you recognize that this was better. In the Raven pilot, the abso-fucking-lutely psychic pilot,
Title was just growing.
I tried to, there was a scene, it was in the bathroom, and it was with Raven as Chelsea, because you never saw this, it was never on the air. And I tried to get clever in a rewrite, right? I tried to get clever. And I was doing this and this, the scene quite didn't work. And the head of the Disney Channel, came to me and he said, what did you do? Right? Well, I did blah, blah, blah. It was better before. If it's not broken, don't fix it. So I cut out everything I did, went back to it before, and it's soft, right? Okay, that's the process. But I was open to hearing that this is not as good as what you had. But I suffered at that point from always wanting to make it better, always wanting to make it better, always, not realizing that I had it already. It's hard to realize that you have it already until you try something that makes you go back to it. It's really a process, and as you get more and more and more experience, you'll recognize, don't overwork this. It works the way it is. You'll get a gut about that, but you've got to make the mistakes to get there. That's just learning. Nothing wrong with that. And it will show itself, right? I'm doing this, and I'm shooting the scene. It's not as good. Just remember what you had, and take yourself out of the thing. It's not a big, the life doesn't stop, right? And you go back to what you had, and then you can really embrace what you had because you tried something. It's so light. Never be afraid to try something. Thank you. Sure.
That's awesome. And then, yes, you're in the back.
Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I have a question for you. So, what big problem have you faced when you were a producer, and how do you solve that problem?
Big problem you faced.
A big problem I faced, meaning what kind of problem?
But when you were a producer.
Are you talking about a problem?
Yes.
There's a lot of different kinds of problems. Are you talking about a more of a creative problem? Are you talking about a business problem?
Business.
A business problem?
Yeah.
Like network problem? Like,
Yeah.
I
but
really
the,
disagree
like,
with that
how to-
person problem?
Yeah.
It's actually a good question.
There are times when you really do disagree and you're at loggerheads. I will share this. And if you're doing a show, that's the time that it is very important, if you're doing a series, very crucial. The closest person you have is the star of the show. That is the person with the ultimate power about anything, right? Especially Miley in the third season, first season. I was always had a great relationship with her. If anybody, she's gave me the least problems, because I always had her back, and she always had my back. So when we got to the end, the network wanted the show to be the dream. that Miley Cyrus would wake up and it was all a dream.
Like of the show.
Of the show, the entire Hannah Montana was a dream. And
That was
I
really that.
hated that.
That is so weird.
I hated that. They even made us shoot that scene, right?
That was
With Billy and Miley's real mom. They made us shoot that scene. It was a sweet scene, right? Nothing wrong with the scene, it was sweet. But for me, being the creator, I wanted to send a message that you can have both a career and college. I wanted to send a message that, yes, you have this big opportunity over here, and you can work at Spielberg, or you can go to college, and the career is going to still be there. But give yourself the experience, no matter if it lasts or it doesn't last, of going to college. You're looking at, hey, I dropped out of college. You know, I was in college for 2-3 years, and I dropped out to, you know, be a stand-up comic, which went into writing. So I lost my train of thought. What was I?
You were talking about the problem dealing with the network.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, I want to go to college. At the end of the day, guess who came and said, I want Michael to have what Michael wants?
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus.
There we go.
Right? So that tells you that when you're running a show, you are not an island. You will need the help of your star. You will. It's a matter of when, but it will happen. And that's your power. Right? That's your power in that place. And I also had a very, very good relationship with the head of the network. So he bent. You need both those things. You know? Never not have them. They will help you. Answer your...
Wow, that's a great answer. Yeah, I think
it's amazing. All this stuff comes from real stuff.
And you talked about, I feel like a common theme, before we wrap up, a common theme you talked about throughout this entire event is not only having a good mindset, but being gracious and being kind and having a relationship with people. I mean, you talked about having a relationship and a team with these shows that have been so successful because they wanted you to succeed.
Well, the other thing you learn,
yes,
if you have the goal, if anybody who has a goal of being a showrunner, you know, along the way, get to know a little about the cameras, get to know a little about makeup and hair and wardrobe and lighting. Get to know just enough that when you speak to those departments, you're speaking out of a sense of knowledge and respect, and you kind of know what you're talking about. And well, you're respecting their departments. You're respecting the camera people. I'll tell you one other thing. There was a director on it was either Hannah or the show I did up in Canada, where if you look at a quad, you know what a quad is? So you know, on a sitcom, there's 4 cameras and there's 4 blocks of stuff up there. And most folks say A camera, B camera, C camera, X camera, or whatever they want to put on there. I took all that off and I put name on them because I said they're not cameras, they're names, you know, and I want you to call them by their names. One director just couldn't do that. They were so used to saying camera A, camera B, camera C, even though I have the names in there, right? Well, that's just that's what I need to do. He never directed for me again because on my set, everybody has a name. Everybody is respected. They're not just this camera and that camera. That's how you create a team, and that's how you create people that want to go the extra mile for you. You reach out, get to know them a little bit, you know, and all of a sudden you're going to get to know, well, do they have a kid that's sick? And you ask them again that you care about them, right? Because how can they care about you if you have not cared about them? There's plenty of people out there I heard are just assholes to work with.
is your first time here, we wanted to get you a little gift.
Well, thank you.
So I want you to open it now. So we
I
can
have to open it in front of everybody.
Yeah, if you don't like it, just lie.
Lie.
Just, it's okay.
So if I don't like it, don't be an asshole.
Yeah, see? We're learning.
Oh, I like it.
And there's something
That's
else in there
perfect.
too.
There's something else in there?
Yeah, I got you.
You're really pushing your
I
luck.
know, I really am. Yeah, so you can look back and say, I
No, I love it. I love it.
and
Absolutely.
we really appreciate it.
That's a great cup. That was $16.
And there you go.
Boy, you guys, really. Wait a minute, how much was this? $34.
One thing that I appreciate about Michael is he keeps it honest, you guys.
$34 and $50. Wow. I really like it even more.
There you go. Yeah, there's some pictures. I want you to wear it.
Thank you.
Of course.
That's
Thank you again for Michael. Thank you guys for coming. There's going to be snacks in the back, so feel free to hang out. If you have any more questions for Michael, he'll be around. If you want to take some snacks home, feel free to. But thanks and have a good weekend, you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.